are calling to order the regular Village of Armada Planning Commission meeting of January 3rd. Okay, everybody rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Belkey? Here. Henderson here. Conan excused. Brand excused. Rumble?
Here.
Patterson?
Here. Okay, we are in January, so we are going to start tonight's meeting with the election of officers, even though we are, well, one short, we're 2 members, but 1 for elections. But we're going to go ahead with that because we are in our January meeting. So we have chair, vice chair, secretary, and that's it, right?
Yep.
Okay. Any nominations?
Do we do them separately or do we do them all at once?
It depends on how you're doing. If you're doing individual people, if you're changing, then yes, we have to do them one at a time.
If you're recommending to leave them as is, you
Then
can
we
do it as
once.
That's my recommendation would be to leave it, re-up everybody.
So state who it is.
Okay, I make a motion to re-elect as chair Christy Patterson, vice chair Sam Belkey, and secretary Kevin Grant.
Second?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right, then we maintain our current positions. And we are now on approval of agenda. I have nothing to change or add. So if no one else does, we'll need a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second?
Those in favor?
Aye.
Approved agenda. Approval of the meeting minutes from our last meeting of July 8th, 2021.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from July 8th, 2021.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved minutes of July 8th. Well, public comment?
None. Just make it quick.
Okay, 2021 in review. Becky's made us a nice little cheat sheet so we can remember what all we've done. We only conducted 7 meetings during the year. We had 9 site approvals. Sam joined our committee. We went over the bylaws. We worked on the zoning ordinance amendment. We adopted we sent to Village Council, the Transitional Overlay District, and use variance. And we conducted our usual DDA business. Anything we forgot? Anything you want to add for the year?
I have a question.
Yes.
What happens to this then now that we do? Does it get presented to council or and then it goes into their minutes?
I'll give a copy of it to Michelle and it'll be in their packets on Monday.
Good. Thank you.
So the motion should read to approve the review as presented and to present it to council.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved to send to council. Okay, time to set the dates for this year. We're looking at quite a few meetings where we are going to have meetings every month, as you'll see when we get a little bit farther down, because we've got a lot of stuff to try and cover this year. So, we usually have our meetings the first Monday of the month. If there's any month where anybody has a problem with that, I don't think we have any holidays.
And looking at the calendar, July is the fourth is the first
Correct.
Monday,
July,
and
okay.
September 5th is the first Monday. Those are both
Correct.
holidays.
Correct.
So I don't know what the protocol is,
So
will
we
we
usually
move it to
just-
the next week, or?
Well, we can't because Monday's
There's a
the
village.
council, so
Right.
usually we'll go to Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever night
Whatever
works.
works
Same
best.
week?
Same week, yeah, we'll just move it forward.
Okay,
If that's what works for everybody. Usually we try and keep it the same week.
same week.
Okay, so February, we're still on the 7th, March, again the 7th, April the 4th, May the 2nd, June would be the 6th. So July, do we have a preference as to Tuesday or Wednesday? Is there anything with the village that we have to look?
Tuesday, you're gonna wind up falling on,
New Haven.
New Haven,
Oh, right, okay.
On what?
Tuesdays.
She tapes New Haven's meetings.
Oh, so we should do Wednesday?
Yeah.
Is everybody okay with Wednesdays?
Yeah, that's better anyway, in case you're out of town, it gives you an extra day to.
Good thinking.
Because Tuesday, right, a lot of people might take that a little bit longer.
Mhm. Okay, so July, we will go with Wednesday the 6th. August, we are back to Monday the 1st. September, are we okay with, we stick with the 7th, since that is also a holiday month?
Yep, I like
Okay,
that.
so we're at Wednesday the 7th. October is the 3rd. November would be the 7th. And December the 5th.
One more. Here.
Oh, you
I
want
gave
January?
everybody
Oh,
January too.
did I have it? Oh, look at that. Okay, so January, the village office closed, we would
We
not,
will be closed on that day,
so
so
we
I
would not
would,
be able to have a meeting.
I don't wanna say you can't have a meeting. I would tell you that I would recommend having a meeting.
January, yeah, being that right after the 1st, I
Correct.
really don't think,
Again, just move it to Wednesday.
Yeah.
I think so too. Everybody's okay, so we'll go the
Yep.
4th on January the 20.
23.
July was one that landed on a Wednesday.
Yep, July, September.
Concerts
And
and
January.
Huh?
concerts and park.
Oh,
Can you do Thursday?
Well, in July, yeah, that would be.
Just July, Thursday.
I guess, I don't know.
I just have to rearrange my schedule. Or you know what?
Well, let me ask you quite honestly, are you gonna be doing either one?
Yes. But on just July's one day, set it up and you turn it on.
everybody's good with the Wednesdays, yes? All right,
I need it.
then we'll just keep it on the Wednesday.
Nothing saying that we can't change it.
Maybe-
Right, something comes up or whatever, yes, we can always look at that a little farther down the line. But for tonight, those are the set meetings.
Nope, motion to.
Motion, we have
Motion
to
to
add
approve
motion
the
for those
calendar.
dates.
Should I run through them all?
You can just say on file and then they'll be listed in
As
the paper.
presented.
Yes.
Okay, you need a second for that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Um,
All right, now we can move on from the calendar. And we are now on the 2022 agenda. What are we doing, what are we?
This is what you want to accomplish in 2022.
Okay. All right, well, I'm thinking agenda, we already said yes on the agenda. Okay, all right, so, as I said, the things we wanted to cover in 2022. We are going to look at the zoning ordinance and suggest items to be amended. We were gonna start this tonight, but being 2 members short, I didn't think it was such a good idea. So what we're gonna do is we go over each ordinance. We usually cover like 2,
Section.
Section 1, Section 2 would be one night. We will go over all of those. We're looking for, how far did we get?
I don't know, I'd have to look at my book, but it doesn't really matter, I'm just gonna start. with-
Right, we're gonna start right fresh, but as we had done it,
Got those attachments that I
Yeah.
sent, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
Good
realistically, 1 and 2, we just need to review as a whole to say, this is what we suggested, this is what McKenna suggested, let's find the meeting thing, and then send that to McKenna and say, this is what we wanted to say.
Okay.
That, the idea behind that is with the current zoning ordinance, they went through it and they sent it out to McKenna, and some things that they thought were gonna be changed didn't end up changed because nobody reviewed the book as a whole,
Right.
where if we do it maybe 2 sections at a time, we're not gonna miss something that you guys intended to have worded differently or changed or whatever. So that's the thought process. I personally think it's a good one so that we don't miss anything big. You know,
Yeah, we went too many at one time.
yes.
We went too far ahead without back review, without talking to the planners. I think 2 at a time really suits our purpose a lot better.
So if you could do review the 1 and the 2, that,
Did all 6.
Yeah.
We're not
well,
gonna-
and McKenna
I know.
came back with 1 and 2.
Right.
So we gotta compare what we asked and what McKenna's comments were. To make sure that what they want to change it to is what we want it to be changed. But Christie's thinking is with you guys being short a few people, it might be better if we,
Just hold out. Because I think we did that with Ben. We hadn't, I don't think you were there for the entire review, and I know Kevin wasn't there for the entire review. So we had, everybody was kind of missing this and that. It's just easier. We seem to have a steady board now where we can all go through it all at one time. We're not trying to backtrack with new people coming in or anything like that. All right, so
1
make,
and 2 next month.
right, so make all of your notes on 1 and 2 for next month. We'll go over those. We'll let Dave and Kevin know, make sure that they're up to date on it so that there's no more delay on it. And then, like I said, I wanted to keep our meetings going each month so that we can get through this.
Sure.
And then we can, from that point, we start looking at reviewing the master plan.
Do you guys anticipate any extra meetings to get through this? Just asking for budget.
No, I don't think so.
No?
I mean, we may have to beef it up a little bit so that we're a little more than 2 at a time, but for starting, that's where we're gonna be. But no, I don't think any extra meetings.
Has there been any thought to moving the start time up to 7 p.m. rather than 7:30?
That was always 7:30 for Ben because he worked till 7, so.
Okay, I say I didn't know why it was ever set at 7:30, so
If
That's-
everybody's agreeable
yeah.
and can be here at 7, then there's really no reason that.
I would prefer I don't stay up late, so.
me either.
Um,
No.
Same.
Okay, so do we want to wait for the other 2? Is this something we can set now
Yeah.
and you can let them know?
I'll just email, I don't think Dave Comer will care, but I'll email them both. And
We'll just
Don't
wait
wanna do it
for
right.
return
Kevin,
then.
Kevin, I just want to make sure.
That's why we can't decide anything, only half of us are here.
Right, so, but I mean, we're good on 7 o'clock.
We had a meeting because we had a quorum.
Right.
Right,
So
exactly,
we're,
correct. And
Yeah, we
I
should
don't
just-
necessarily know it needs a whole motion to change it.
Yeah.
But as long as Kevin's the only one that, I don't know what his work, I
Right.
don't know what his work's
As
good.
long as
so
we
I know he
post
goes
the
to
change.
chamber and he goes to historical, they will start at 7.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Well, let's look at then next month. We'll start it at 7. If there's any negative feedback towards that, just let me know and we'll look at it at that. But for now, let's say 7 o'clock.
Just gives us a little extra time.
Yes.
to,
I like that idea.
Yeah, because technically we can't meet after 10.
Yeah.
So, if we're in a big discussion on one of those sections, I'm just saying. Just
Oh,
saying.
yeah.
10 o'clock, I'll be in here with my pillow and blanket. All right, we also need to look into additional training. Do we have anything in the works now?
We don't. Actually, I was going to ask if anybody had done that online planner.
I don't have.
I've looked at it, I haven't done it.
Yeah.
Because that is actually the same as if you went to someplace and they talked to you. So, one of the things that Ben had suggested previously, and we actually did it several years ago, is come up with things that we would like addressed or more training, more knowledge on, and ask the McKenna to come in here. So that could be something that you guys could all think about, you know, what would you think you would like to learn a little more about, or be better knowledge, you know, have more knowledge in what area for them to address for you to do the job correctly.
That's what we did.
And Brian has more than once said that they would be happy to, he would be happy to come up with something and come in and do it.
But he
Brian
can't come
can
in
do Mondays, right?
He can come in July and September.
It's not, yeah, well, if he still has that other big one, no, he can't. But if that's the case, that could be, even if we don't do the July or the September, we could change 1 month and, move that meeting to.
Or add a training session.
Correct.
And it's nice to have it here because then ZBA can come.
Correct.
Sometimes 1 or 2 council are interested, they can
Correct.
come.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Well, then start thinking about some things that you would like to learn more about, and even if it is things that you see in that citizen planner thing that kind of made sense but didn't make sense, or, And the nice thing about Brian, as opposed to something you're doing online, is Brian will give you real life things. So, he'll tell you this is why it was done this way and give specific examples so it makes sense. The one thing I went to that you and Ben went to the wrong place. If we come up with any more of those, if I see, because I see the flyers when they come in the mail. It was a half-day seminar, a whole-day seminar that was just kind of an overview of planning or an overview of a site plan review or something. As I see them, I'll throw feelers out because the village doesn't mind paying to have you learn because truly this could, something you do or say could take us to court. So we want to
And
make
on
sure we're
those
doing
types of things, Ben and I used to carpool. So, if there's something out in a way that everybody's interested in, and it's something else we could look at too, you just have to make sure that the driver knows where he's going.
Roe puts on some pretty good ones too.
Yes. I don't know that I'll go to Roe. That's a little far for me. And
Well,
That's the Flint
they
one,
would
isn't
come
it?
here too, I think.
yes,
They
they
should.
probably would.
They
They
should.
probably would.
Yeah, too.
They probably.
Yeah, but they
would.
probably
But
would
just
bring them
depending on the
kids.
topics that you guys select and recommendations that you put down for your list.
Well,
of
it's
things you
even
want to know.
possible that we could get them to do a combined one, to
Mhm.
where, then the engineer's saying, this is why we look at this, while the
Right.
planner's saying, and this is why we have the
That'd be
one.
fabulous. Yeah.
Well, so start thinking of some things, and I'll I'll email Brian and tell him that's what we're thinking about, and, we'll come up
I
with
think
a
it makes
list.
it better to have them here because
Oh,
we're all
absolutely.
more likely to be here.
Oh, yeah, no,
And as soon
and
as
they
talk about
both
the
would
row
come
ones,
here.
those are in Flint. Ben and I are the only ones that went.
Yeah, but I think that I could get Doug
I've gone to like 4 of those.
or somebody from Roll
That's
that would
meetings
come
that-
at the same time, so, start thinking of things you'd like to.
MTA used to have, when I was deputy, we went to a lot of those.
Well, right now, the problem, obviously, there's a reason that there isn't a lot right now. And after I went to that one out in Oakland County, I did get a whole lot of, it was the Oakland Planning, Economic Planning, whatever. Macomb at the time didn't have any, but McKenna did it out there. And Brian's another good resource for that too. Hey, Brian, do you know any trainings that are coming up, blah, 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 blah. So think of some things you'd like to learn some more about, or I'll ask him to see, what his availability is even. And,
He's got some hot topics that
yeah.
other communities are looking at.
Or he might know something that's coming down the pipe, like when they totally overhauled the sign ordinance several years ago, so he might know something that's coming to prepare us for it.
That's great.
So, okay, sorry.
No, that's fine. And then the last thing on my list is just any normal business that should arise during the year. So unless there's anything that you'd like to add to my 22 agenda for things that you'd like to see happen, that's going to be what we're looking at right now. There's always room for change.
And that also goes to council.
All right, so as long as we're all good with that,
Could you, when it goes to council, can you add what we just talked about, like McKenna and like details around?
Well, where it's under additional training,
Yeah.
I'll
Just
put some
add-
blurbs in there
Yeah.
under that.
That'd be great, so it
Okay.
looks like we were actually thinking about it.
Yeah, blurbs.
okay, anything else? I need a motion for that.
Motion to approve the 2022 agenda as presented?
Second.
With added blurbs.
With added words.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's good to go to council. All right, so zoning ordinance review, we're obviously not,
We just kind of covered
not
that.
gonna cover too
What
much
we're
of
going
that
to
tonight,
do.
other than what we've already talked about. We'll work on that strong next month, which now puts us at the DDA business. And
Do you need to go into the DDA?
It depends on who you ask, so we're not gonna stress about it today.
Alright, works right. Okay. For anybody that doesn't know, we are still in the current budget year. It will end 3/31/2022, so the budget that you're reviewing right now will end March 31st, 2023. So, it's a 3-page document that you can, depending on how detailed you want to go through it, your back 2 sheets are like worksheets to the budget. Page 1 is a complete overview of the budget, gives you all your bottom lines. So, I can go through using page 1. If you have any questions, how did you get to that number, whatever, then we can jump into the back ones. Because otherwise it's a very simple budget. It has only one rule and regulation, is that you cannot spend any money other than what is to pay the bond. So you may be a few years down the road where you could start looking at some really small project. Well, actually, you probably couldn't do that either, because you still owe, the DDA, still owes the general a buttload of money. So I would say that's not even on the table, so.
So when will this bond be paid off?
The bond's paid off in 2024.
and then that's when we begin to pay back the general account.
Correct.
Yes.
And then how long do we pay back the general, then we pay back?
Well, depending on how much you owe them total.
I don't have that in front of me, sorry.
Oh, because every year we borrow from them and we don't have any capture?
When you don't have enough capture to pay the bond payment, the general's been picking up that payment for you.
I see.
So,
2027 is the last bond payment.
2027.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a 2007 bond issue.
So there
Okay.
could be several years after that when we're still paying back general fund.
Right.
So there's nothing. Is the capture getting bigger?
It's a reverse amortization.
Pardon me?
It is a reverse amortization.
Can you explain that, please?
It means that you started out with the lower interest payments at the beginning, and then they went to a peak and getting higher, and then they start to go back down again. So, for instance, as your bond payments used to be 20,000, this year they start at 25. So your payments go up, your interest goes up. When you get to, I think it's like 3/4 of the way, it starts to go back down again. But the bond covenant holds the option to do a balloon payment at the end. If, say, we've gotten behind in any payments or something and interest accumulated, they can put that to the end. We haven't, so 2027 should be drop dead date.
The money that, like the capture, the tax capture,
Mhm.
is that, it went up a couple thousand last.
Because assessments went up.
Mhm.
I remember our assessments dropped, and that's how DDA got into trouble in the first place.
Right.
But you gotta remember, the village reduces our millage every year. We take the rollback. So unless you hit that fine tune to where the captured value increases to catch up to the reduction in the actual rate, some years you'll see a lower, some years you'll see it bump up a little bit. But it just depends on where the assessment on the value is,
So we really shouldn't expect much to be different for a while.
not for a while.
So we're just in this holding pattern then until we pay down
Paying
and
the bond,
pay it down and pay it back.
yeah.
Okay.
So the budget is laid out in budget years. The top one half deals with your revenues that come in, which your only real revenue that comes in is the TIF capture. Our auditors have put in a recommendation to us several years ago that it's a debt that falls on the village's credit line. So we have to show that this DDA fund can pay the debt that the fund has. So he has putting in 25,000. In fact, first year we put in 50,000. We put in 25 and it wasn't a big enough percentage because your capture was so low. So we put in 50,000 that year. And we're putting in 25,000. That's part of where your debt to the village keeps growing, because that's going to be part of what you'll have to pay back. So the only two debts that are the incomes that you have is the 25,000. I didn't put it in this year because you will have a capture large enough to pay the bond payments and the principal and interest and not be in a deficit. So that could change next year for the reasons that I just explained, that depending on the value of the assessments, that could change. But I'd like to get it to a point to where it's paying its own debts and there's some left over each year that can accumulate to go towards paying the general fund back.
Sure.
So, but I don't want to keep putting money in from the general fund that just keeps building that debt that you owe. So I'll run it by the auditors and see if they have any objection to it. Because this year, the DDA has a net revenue of over $42,000, which is the bottom line in the bottom right-hand corner. Which is after the bond's paid, nothing paid back to the general as yet. But that still gives you a nice account balance to show that the debt is getting paid and it's accumulating funds. So, to the left column in the top and all the way down is your actual prior year funds. So regardless of what you budgeted, these prior year ones only look at what you actually spent or took in. So then the next year is this budget year that we're in right now. The current year budgeted 21-22. So that column is almost irrelevant on this sheet because it's subject to change. The third column is what we've spent actually, budget versus actual, and it still could change. So I don't expect it to change dramatically. And where we put in the budget for 22-23, you'll see the blank on the $25,000 line. That's where I did not put the 25,000 in from the general fund. And with nothing in from the general fund, you will still have a net revenue of $42,781.80. Your expenditures, like I said, are simply the bond. We put the auditor in because every now and then, depending on what he has to review, and the only reason he's reviewing it is to make sure the bonds are paid and that everything is in compliance with the bond covenants. So it's still subject to the bond payments, but he doesn't often break it out. But it's there if we need it. If not, it'll go into the next year's accumulation. So the bond principal payments this year are $25,000 in the current year, and in 2023's budget, they will be $25,000. Bond interest payments are going down because the balance is going down. So in 2021, we paid $11,222.50. 2022, this current year, we paid $10,172.50. In 22-23, we will pay $9,097.50 in interest payments. We have a bond issuance cost that, depending on the capture ratio to the bond assessment value, you will get charged for it. In most cases we do get charged. There's been 1 or 2 years that we didn't. So it's $750.
So the bottom set of columns are just the carryovers and how it brings that net value that, or net rate, net projected surplus for the year is just by bringing the math over year after year after year, taking your accumulated balance from the prior year, folding it into your new budget. So you will have income of 21,000, expenditures of 39,047.50, giving you a budgeted net revenue of negative 18,047.50. You roll in your prior year fund balance, which is this current year, 60,829.30, and it gives you the accumulated net balance that you will be ending your 2023 year with of 42,781.80. Any questions? You will be sending this to, you prepare it, you send it to council to accept it, and then they send it back to you to adopt it.
So for right now, we're looking for a motion to
Send it to
send
council.
it to council.
To approve
To
it as
approve.
it's presented, and then send it to council.
Oh, okay. So the
Yeah.
motion has to be to approve it as presented and then
And send it to
send it to
council
council.
for acceptance.
I make a motion to approve the DDA budget year ending 3/31/2023 as presented and forward to council for approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're good to go with that for council then. Okay, with that, we are down to the reports, which I do not have anything to add this time, other than it's nice to see everybody again. So, Happy New Year. Let's hope we can accomplish a bit more this year. Anybody else have any reports to add or anything that they'd like to comment on? Okay, there's one last motion we need for the evening.
My favorite.
Motion to adjourn 8:03.
8:03.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are out.